What's up, everybody? This is Mancave Dave in Wisconsin with another video. I've gotten some requests from some of you to show off a little bit more of my man cave and talk about some of the records and stuff that I have on the wall. So I figured that I would go ahead and do that. So just kind of showing a little panoramic here of a lot of the stuff on the wall. And I know y'all have seen some of my videos with all of the different video game systems I have, but this is the man cave. We've got, when we come down the stairs here, we have some old Nintendo powers, like Nintendo 64 era, and just some random games and VHS movies. And then my awesome 70s stereo with the record player that actually still works. And then the consoles and the TV. I have an older TV down here just because it works with like the Nintendo Zapper and the Sega light gun and all that kind of good stuff. Then over here we've got the Nintendo games, the Super Nintendo games, computer, the futon, and back here is just another workspace, and there's more game stuff back there. What else we got here? Oh, so backing up a little bit, some toys from my son. Got a couple of recliners. Had this one since college. Oh man, the stories this thing could tell. Maybe it probably shouldn't. But so there's one, and then second recliner down here with the mini fridge stocked with Diet Coke. Mini fridge. And a lot of times I'll sit down here, have some Nintendo 64 games I'm cleaning, and just watch an old cheesy movie. I think right now I'm watching Hard to Kill with Steven Seagal while I'm cleaning games. And there's Dexter. Hi, Dexter. Anyway, figured I'd talk a little bit about my Guns N' Roses signed collection. I've been collecting autographs now for about 4 years, and actually have amassed quite a few in that time. I lived in Milwaukee for a year and worked for Marquette University. I lived pretty close to the Rave, which is the big concert place there. And the first show I got an autograph at was actually a Tesla show, the day before their Forevermore album came out. And after the show, I was out there by the bus. I had an older album, and all the guys came out and were hanging out, and I was like, wow, this is awesome. I can meet some of the people that I made the music I really like and sign albums, and it's kind of a cool story. Each one of these albums has a story to it. So there's a few of these that I haven't gotten in person, and I'll talk about those as well. So first off, we have one of my copies of the Guns N' Roses Live Era LP. This one is actually one that I didn't get signed in person. I try not to buy stuff off eBay and whatnot too much, just because there's a lot of fake stuff out there. But after comparing these autographs to the ones that I have, I'm 99.9% sure they're authentic. So, signed by Slash, and then Steven Adler. Who else we got here? Dizzy Reed, Matt Sorum, the drummer who took over Steven Adler's spot, and Gilby Clarke, the guitar player who took over Izzy for rhythm guitar. Then over here we have Slash's first solo album, R&F&R. They did a promotional thing where if you bought a package with the LP and I think it was a t-shirt and some other stuff, it was a little bit more expensive, they'd give you a signed one, and so I actually got a couple of these. And then down here we got Duff, the bassist for GNR, original bassist, his Believe in Me LP, signed by Gilby Clarke, who was on and I think co-wrote a couple of the songs. Slash's Snake Pit, Slash's not really solo band, but his project after GNR. I saw Slash at the Orpheum Theater in Madison, Wisconsin this last year, and it was really cool after the show, which was awesome, by the way. He came out and was hanging out with people, and he would sign one item per person. And so I had a bunch of records, but there was a lot of people around me who just wanted to meet him and say hey. And so I got like 6 things signed, just asking people, hey, would you mind getting this signed for me? So that was really cool of them. And then also signed by Gilby Clarke. I met Gilby a couple of times out in California at a random rock fest when I was out there for a conference. And then also at Summerfest in Milwaukee. And then he played at a little bar called Scats in Middleton near Madison, Wisconsin. Which really sad that place went out of business. They lost their liquor license. They had a lot of great shows there. Down here, we've got the Patience single signed by Steven Adler in the bottom right. I've seen Steven Adler probably 7 or 8 times as he was out touring with Adler's Appetite. Him and Chip Z'Nuff from Enough Is Enough, and Alex Grossi from Quiet Riot, and some other guys. really great show, and I know he's out with a new project now, Adler, so I'm hopefully going to see him a few more times. Velvet Revolver, signed by Slash, again, when I met him at the Orpheum. Love this album cover, and the silver Sharpie, it looks pretty cool. Guns N' Roses, The Spaghetti Incident, signed by Gilby Clarke, again, when I saw him one of the 3 times I met him. And Dizzy Reed, who I actually went and saw and met up at the Green Bay Distillery in Green Bay, Wisconsin, this last year. I think it was Rocker Chicks Promotions who brought them out, or brought him and his band out, which was just a really great show. And again, Yesterday's, signed by Dizzy Reed. Actually, I had a stack of stuff, and Dizzy was like, hey, I'll sign all of this stuff if I can keep this record. I was like, oh man, I can't do it. I really like it. He's like, yeah, me too. So he was really cool and signed it for me anyway, but he really wanted this record, which was funny. Guns N' Roses, Don't Cry, the hologram version, which is really cool. Also signed by Dizzy Reed, upside down, but hey, that's alright. It's still pretty cool. And Guns N' Roses, Chinese Democracy. A lot of folks have mixed feelings on this album. It took me a couple of listens to, but actually it's one of my favorites by them. I really like it. Now granted, it's not the original lineup or even the secondary lineup. It's Axl and Dizzy Reed and then a lot of new guys, but I really like the sound, and actually had a chance to go see them with my best friend Adam at the Allstate Arena in Chicago back in 2011, and would love to see them again. It was just a great show. People can say what they want, but it was like 2.5 hours of just straight energy. It was awesome. But Bumblefoot, Ron Thal, one of their guitarists, was at Summerfest a couple years back, 3 years back I think, maybe, with Lita Ford, and so he signed a couple of these for me, and actually signed the vinyl itself, which I think looks really cool. And then Dizzy Reed, when I saw him up in Green Bay, he signed it. And this is Tommy Stinson, the bassist. It's a smiley face with the X's, and then I think this was his signature. It didn't take too well, and so he signed it for me when I saw him with Soul Asylum. I saw him again at the Chicago Guns N' Roses show. He did a in-store at a record store promoting his One Man Mutiny solo album, and so he signed it again for me, and then also signed the vinyl over here. And there's some confetti from the concert that when they play Paradise City at the end, it just shoots out, which is really, really fun. Let's see, over here we've got GNR Lies, signed by Steven Adler, one of the times I met him, and Duff. And I actually haven't met Duff yet. Duff was the original bassist, so I can't verify that signature. He's got a fairly simple signature, and so I hope that's authentic, but again, I can't verify. This is one of the pride and joys of my collection right here. It's the original Live Like a Suicide album. The record itself is worth probably about $100, not counting the signatures. This was their first album before Appetite for Destruction. So signed by Slash when I saw him at the Orpheum, and then also signed by Steven Adler one of the times that I met him. And up here we have the Use Your Illusion LP, signed by Dizzy Reed on the top, Slash, and then Alice Cooper. Alice Cooper is on one of the songs, The Garden, and I went and saw him a few years back at a casino up near Escanaba, Michigan, and I was talking to the merch guy, and he's like, hey, he golfs every morning, and he'll be here. So if you come back to the hotel at about 7 in the morning and wait, there's a good chance you'll run into him. And so I was down there, and sure enough, this old man, kind of small and trying to look inconspicuous, came out, and I'm like, Alice? He looked at me, I'm like, would you sign some albums for me? He's like, yeah, man, come on over here. So I went over, and he signed them for me. I was like, great show last night. He's like, oh, thanks, man. And then he grabbed his golfing stuff and headed out. So it was kind of funny seeing Alice Cooper out of his stage makeup, all in white with a golf bag. But he was a really cool guy, and would definitely love to see his show and meet him again. And we have a Use Your Illusion 2 signed album, actually signed. So up here we've got Steven Adler. Steven Adler was on one song on this, Civil War. He started signing in silver, but it wasn't showing up too much, so then he signed it in black for me. And then Dizzy Reed, and then Slash. And then down here we've got Appetite for Destruction, the second version of the LP, signed by Steven Adler, and then signed by Slash. Guns N' Roses, Live and Let Die, signed by Duff in the middle there. and then Slash on the bottom. And actually, I didn't get these in person, so I can't verify they're authentic, but at least the Slash signature, based on the ones that I have, I'm pretty sure it's the real deal. And over here, it's the single picture disc for November Rain, which is probably my favorite song of all time, signed by Steven Adler. And while he wasn't on the November Rain song, the flip side of this, or the B-side, is Sweet Child of Mine, and he was on that. This is one of my favorite albums. A lot of controversy around the cover, but when I worked at Marquette University in Milwaukee, there was a record store called Atomic Records that was going out of business. Very sad. It was a great place. And they were going through all of their basement stuff and came upon this. It's a sealed Appetite for Destruction. Has a sheet of Japanese peel-off stickers, and it was like $100 and some dollars, $100, something like that. And it was always behind the counter. So every time I would go, I would just look at it and be like, oh. And then one day I went, and it was gone, and I was so sad. But my staff that night had a pizza box, and they gave it to me. I'm like, oh, pizza, guys, thanks. Let's open this up in a minute and share it. And they're like, no, open it now. So I opened it, and this was inside it. They had pooled their money and bought it for me. They pulled out a boombox and played, I think it was Paradise City, and I can't describe how much it meant to me that these guys would do that for me. It was just a very surreal moment and really touched me. So anyway, that's probably one of my favorite albums that I have, just a lot of sentimental value behind it. So it's signed by Steven Adler, right here. Actually, when I gave it to Steven to sign, he started opening it. I'm like, no, just sign it. He's like, oh, sorry, dude. So that was a close one. And then up here is Use Your Illusion 1, just kind of like a flat, album flat. Or not an album, I don't even know if it's an album flat, just a flat, but it's signed by Steven Adler, Dizzy Reed, and Gilby Clarke. This one I didn't get in person. It's something that was given to me. But again, comparing the signatures to, like, there's Steven Adler, there's Dizzy Reed, and Gilby Clarke. Same thing. Comparing it to the other ones that I've seen and that I have gotten in person, I'm 99.9% sure it's authentic. So I have more Guns N' Roses signed and unsigned albums that I'll make a second video of. But for now, I hope you've enjoyed, and my next video I'll take a look at some of my other stuff. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all at the next sale or the next show. Watch out for TIE fighters. Bye.